I didn't say Mbappe wouldn't go to Newcastle. I said, in its current incarnation, you can't go from where they are now to Mbappe being in your side in January or next summer.
If you were still at the top of the house at Crystal Palace, Simon, would you be one of the rest of the 19 clubs who today are calling for an emergency meeting with the Premier League over their concerns over the approval of the Newcastle takeover?
Absolutely. I think it's outrageous what's gone on. Of course I bloody wouldn't. It's none of my business who owns another football club. It's the Premier League's job to make sure that people meet the obligations that whoever owns a football club has to meet, and that's the job that they're supposed to do. Now, the Premier League is some of all its parts, which is the clubs, but the executive side of it, which is where Richard Masters and Gary Hoffman sit, they've got to enforce the rules that we as clubs have voted for, and if somehow in a parallel universe they've managed to do that, right, with nonsense like separation from the Saudi state, which is all nonsense, then I would have to get on with it like anyone else.
So you would be part of this?
Well, it's nonsense, isn't it?
But
it's nonsense.
This is actually the case. They want answers to how come it changed and was waved through and why they received no notice of it.
We're hearing this through the media. We haven't heard this from any individual clubs, have we? We're hearing that the media have got a story that suggests that the 19 other clubs, from whoever they may be, 19, we can work out who they are, have got objections to the manner in which Newcastle...
How do you think it found its way into the media?
God only knows. Someone briefed them in. I don't know. Unless they've spoken to 19 other chairmen, I don't know. But I haven't heard from another chairman. I'm hearing that there are 19 clubs that are concerned about the way this has gone through. I can't imagine why they'd be concerned.
What's more concerning is...
It looks horrible. You've got a state, irrespective of separation, that's got terrible human rights issues, owning one of our elite football clubs. It's horrible.
But are you suggesting then people at the Premier League aren't doing a job properly by letting this go through?
I'm suggesting that the smokescreen that's been put around this and all this crap about separation from the Saudi state is nonsense. It was always about piracy. The moment that piracy was taken off the table, miraculously a deal was put back into place. The separation is nonsense because the money controls influence, and the money behind this is Mohammed bin Salman, who is the state. But that does not mean, because there's no rule, this nonsense. Where's the rule? Point me to the rule that says a state can't own a football club, because I thought Sheikh Mansour was the Prime Minister of UAE. So that's a state owning Man City, so it already exists. So I'm looking at it and going, what would these 19 clubs have to say besides, we don't like it? Well, what's it got to do with you?
No, but 2 weeks ago at the last Premier League meeting, would you not have expected to have heard something on the Newcastle United situation? Because something was rumbling in the background,
sorry,
clearly.
Jim, it's a private business that plays in a football league. Newcastle United was owned by Mike Ashley.
But you said the Premier League's the sum of all its parts.
Yeah, but he's entitled to sell the football club to whomsoever he wants as long as it complies with the Premier League rules at the football clubs. So what you're basically saying is they should go in there and pitch to the other 19 clubs to make sure that they're happy with who they're selling to. No. Mind your own bleeding business.
Well, what we know is that the Premier League has received complaints from the other clubs who had no idea the takeover was about to be approved.
But it's none of their business. It's none of their business. And the only thing they can possibly have an issue with is, did it do the things that it was supposed to do? Has it done what it's supposed to do? Have the Premier League met all of the obligations that they say that were there? And to suggest that separation was the driving factor is nonsense. It's piracy. And it was right to be that issue. And the moment the Saudis took piracy off the table, what happened? The next day, the deal was... And we got unequivocal assurances that the Saudi state weren't involved. Well, who's funding it then? Who's the chairman of PIF? Mohammed bin Salman, the very same person that lobbied Boris Johnson to make sure this deal went through. This is nonsense. And they have that right to suggest that there's a concern there, but they don't have a right to suggest who owns a football club and who doesn't. Who said that John Henry should get the football club? Who said that the Glazers should get the football club? The Premier League rules and the people that wanted to buy it and the people that wanted to sell it to them.
Is it not a courtesy thing, though? Is it not a matter of courtesy?
Oh, yeah, because football's full of courtesy, yeah.
The other Premier League, well,
it doesn't matter if it's courtesy, does it? If that's not been done, that's not breaking any rules. I think it's about making sure, as Simon said, the boxes are ticked. And if the Premier League have done the job and they feel like they've done it properly and thoroughly and they've ticked every box, then why should they have to then go to the other clubs if it hasn't happened previously?
I think what they're saying is how comes we, as the Premier League, get to hear after everybody else?
Well, that is what they're saying. But
Tough luck.
At the end of the day, it is such a momentous decision and announcement that wouldn't it have been prudent that they filled in the clubs, the member clubs, the 19 of them, before it got the length of the media?
Would it have been prudent? Or guaranteed would the Premier League have had a chance? And the moment the Premier League were prepared to engage with Newcastle, do you not think that Amanda Staveley would have been singing like a canary about the deal being done before the Premier League announced it? The Premier League had a chance to be able to be in control of the destiny of this situation. The moment the Saudis took piracy off the table, acknowledged its existence, promised they'd shut everything down, and agreed to pay a broadcaster and allow them to broadcast the Premier League content that had been stolen for the last 4 years and broadcast illegally in their country, that deal was back on. And it was going to be sung from the rooftops by everybody that could talk about it. So the Premier League made a decision. Is it right and proper that perhaps they should have advised, sent the note round to 19 other clubs? Probably. But time was against them, I suspect. And I'm not sitting here advocating that Richard Masters has done a good job, bad job, or indifferent one.
But he might have an awkward few days ahead of him.
Oh, so what?
Yeah.
Big deal. What they're going to say to him, we don't like the way you've done it. Okay. Did they meet the rules? Yes, they did. Did they comply with all the obligations of the owners and directors test? Apparently they did. Okay. Did they comply with any less than Sheikh Mansour? Yes, they did. End of discussion.
So
Is
this story then just about somebody saying that the Premier League clubs want to see the criteria, want to see the paperwork? What is it? What do you think it is?
I think Jim's hit the nail on the head, probably more than all of us, in terms of courtesy. There was a clear obstacle in the way which stopped, and all the Newcastle fans sitting there with their ridiculous conspiracy theories about how nobody wanted them to join the league. Right? It was based upon piracy. It was always based upon piracy, and so it should have been. How dare you steal a signal, broadcast it in your country, and then expect to join the gang whose content you're broadcasting for nothing? Right? So it was right to do that. But the fact is that they haven't seen the passage of time that's gone past to see why, on one hand, the Premier League were absolutely no way in the competition appeal tribunal, which is all about Mike Ashley getting compensation and maybe some embarrassment from the public domain, and the arbitration was an absolute double down from the Premier League. Unless we get absolute surety of understanding, we're not letting these guys in. How has it got from that to this? This is what the other 19 clubs are going, hang on a second, how have you got from here, where there's no chance, to here in 24 hours?
What was the process?
Yeah.
But they haven't. It's been going on for some time, hasn't it? They've been working on finding the way around piracy for some time, and the Saudis have cut to it.
Should Richard Masters pay heed at all to this? That the other 19 are reportedly calling for an emergency meeting.
He can probably sit there and say, guys, I could have done it in a way that was probably more inclusive, but quite frankly, with all due respect, they've adhered to the Premier League rules, as laughable as they are, and they're on board now, so get on with it.
Yeah. If you were still at Palace, you'd be going nuts that you didn't know.
No, I wouldn't, because I'd be more worried about my own problems. Newcastle United's spend pattern is not going to artificially influence my opportunity.
Right.
With the greatest win in the world, I'd be unhappy with Sheikh Mansour. I'd be unhappy with anyone comes in that got more money than me. But that's the nature of the business that you're in.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart speaker. TalkSport.